right, so for today's notes, we are going to have 2 sheets, but don't worry, we're not using all of the stuff on the 2 sheets. From the one that had this crown molding looking piece, we're going to toss that one. So make sure you're paying attention. See this? This is going away. It's going in the trash. And the 4-leaf clover, however, I'm keeping that around. And what I did is I put glue under the diamond in case I want to write underneath the little leaves of the 4-leaf clover. All right, and then on the back side, I will be doing the Louisiana Purchase. That should be your other sheet. Looks like that. But let's go ahead and start talking about the Northwest Ordinance. I've got glue on my fingers, and I'm going to pause it and get that off. So what we are doing is we're moving away from the Constitution. We've been talking about that and the Bill of Rights and the early government and how it was set up. And we're going to start talking about something a little bit different, and that is how the United States started growing, because as you know, it started off with just 13 states, and we now have 50. And that happened over a long period of time. We're not going to talk about each state, but we are going to be moving into the direction of showing how the country got larger. All right, so this is the Northwest Ordinance. And we are going to start with the one that was the what was it? What is this Northwest Ordinance? It was a plan. It was an idea that created the Northwest Territory. It's not called that anymore, but at the time it was. All right, we're going to move on to why did Congress make it? I'm going to rotate it here. Why? Why did they come up with this plan? Why did they come up with this idea? Many Americans wanted to move west for new land, and opportunities. Okay, so the East Coast was very heavily populated. If you wanted to live at a different location, or maybe try a different form of work, or you just weren't satisfied with where you were and you just wanted to be somewhere new, this might have been appealing to you. You wanted to move west. This wasn't allowed under the British. The British had a rule in place that you could only settle to a certain point. You couldn't keep moving westward. But now that the United States was its own country, it didn't have to listen to that anymore. And so the Northwest Ordinance allowed for moving further west. All right, where was it? That's our next one. Where was the Northwest Territory? It was created from the land north of the Ohio River. I lost my place. And east of the Mississippi. Mississippi River. And I'm going to show you a map in just a few minutes of where that was. All right, which states were eventually created from this Northwest Territory? So they didn't start off as states. They eventually became states. So from this Northwest Territory, we now have these wonderful states. We have the states of Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, and I'm going to squeeze in Wisconsin here. Wisconsin. All right. So I'm going to look at this little map here on the Louisiana Purchase. Now, we're going to talk about the Louisiana Purchase in just a minute, but remember that our original 13 colonies, they were over in this this area, right? Okay, that was them. And the British said, hey, you can't move any further west than that. But now the United States is its own country, and it's like, yeah, okay, we're going to do what we want. So they started moving this way. And that would form the states of Ohio, which is in here. Okay, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, and Wisconsin. So this was the direction. This opened up this area right here as the Northwest Territory, which eventually became those 5 states. So we're moving beyond these original 13, and we're going to start adding some more. Which now leads us to the Louisiana Purchase. You don't need to draw that part, but if you did, yay for you. So, let's see how I'm going to cut this. Well, I'm going to cut out this rectangle. I actually need a sheet that, is appropriate. Hold on. Yay, I found one. Okay, so I've already started cutting it. I'm going to cut out the rectangle that says the Louisiana Purchase. 1803, and as you can recall, the Northwest Ordinance came about in 1787. So this was quite some time later. So that would be 13 and then 3 more, so about 16 years later, that we decided that we were going to have even more land to become part of the United States. We'd already moved beyond the original 13 with the Northwest Territory. That became those next 5 states. And now we're going to talk about a huge chunk of land right in the heartland of our country. I wonder if do they want us to put it there maybe? I'm not sure. I don't know. Okay, let's flip this over. We'll try it. I'm going to put glue on the back side, but not on the flaps. The flaps we need to be able to lift up and right underneath. And I'm going to cut you, and I'm going to make this fit. All right, Louisiana Purchase. So a couple of bits of background information that I know I'm going to use as the question that I'm going to ask. So make sure you're listening to me. So you know that there were several European countries that were colonizing North and South America. They were Spain, England, France, and a few others that had a few colonies here and there, like the Dutch and the Danish. However, the French and the English and the Spanish, they had the most. They were the most prominent colonizers in the New World. And the English had, of course, those 13 colonies over here, right? And Spain, for example, had Florida. So this was actually Spanish land. And then France had this big chunk they had claimed as theirs. And so it was named Louisiana after the king of France, whose name was Louis. See, Louisiana, Louis, that's what it was named after. Cool piece of information, isn't it? Okay, so in 1803, France decided they did not want this land anymore. They were tired of it. In fact, the leader of France at that time was an emperor named Napoleon. And Napoleon had just lost some battles in the Caribbean area, and he was just really tired of the Americas. He just wanted out. And so he was like, hey, United States, we are good friends. We would like to sell you this piece of land here. And so we did. We bought that piece of land from Napoleon, and that's how it became ours. Okay, this had originally been colonized by France, but it became part of the United States because France sold it to us. And that's a huge chunk of land. This all of this west of the Mississippi became part of the United States, and that was our Louisiana Purchase from Napoleon. Now remember, we started off over here as these 13 colonies, and then we had the Northwest Ordinance that gave us this region, or we decided to incorporate this region into the United States, and now we can add this bit on as well. Okay. Now, after I gave you the backstory, we're going to fill in the notes about it. I forgot that altogether. So let's label some things on the map first. This was the United States at the time, not including Florida, okay? Down here, this was Spanish Florida. So make sure you write that. We did not have that land yet. And this right here was the Louisiana Territory that we purchased in 1803. All right. This purchase was done by President Thomas Jefferson, our third president. And what did he want to buy? Let me write in marker so it's nice and dark. He wanted to buy specifically the city of New Orleans from France. And that was part of this Louisiana Territory down in this area here. That port is really what Thomas Jefferson wanted, but he was cool with the whole thing. Why was New Orleans something that he wanted? That's what we're going to answer next. New Orleans was an important port. It was a trading port on the Mississippi River. So New Orleans was an important trading port on the Mississippi River. How did France respond to this offer? Well, Napoleon was, I wouldn't say excited, but more than willing to sell this. They needed the money. They were at war with Great Britain. You know, France and Great Britain, bitter rivals at that time. And Napoleon had just had that embarrassing situation in the Caribbean, and he just wanted to get out of the Americas pretty much altogether. So they were quite happy to sell it to us for the price of $15 million. So France was losing interest in the Americas. It needed the money for war with Great Britain. I'm so glad these notes do not call it England, because we have talked about that. That is not what its name was in 1803. Okay, so I think for my question is, there was an individual who sold the United States the Louisiana Territory. What was the name of this individual? You might have to go back and watch it. You do not have to spell it correctly, because I have not spelled it for you, but you should be able to sound out this person's name. So for example, if you're writing XRTY or something, that is not the sounds that are with this person's name, right? So you need to sound it out the best you can, and if you want to know how to spell it, I will tell you at some other point in time. All right, so that's our notes. Make sure your name is on this, and it's turned in today. And you have that secret word or message to get credit for the prize. All 3 have to be in place. If you forget your name, I'm sorry. You won't get the prize. All right. Name on it, in the basket, and that's it.